passion came from high school. I was students in the student council, and after finishing the university, the passion never dies. It stays. A passion in you is stays with you, even if you take when you go in a certain environment to study, it still comes out. So I got employed. Then still that passion of leadership came in. That time in Kenya, there was the issue about youth not being represented in the leadership of Kenya. So the desire still came into me again towards trying to find out how can the youth be involved in leadership. So I formed the NGO called Kenya Progressive Youth Organization.
Which year?
Around 2005, 2006. Yeah, 2005. Let's say 2005. I formed with a gentleman who was called Henry Kenyon. We started, that was now our NGO. I was the secretary because I was employed. I could not put myself out there. We were running there, the office, and me employed and worked done. So we went. We wrote a document, which we came with the idea of youth fund, and we went to the Ministry of Youth. That time it was led by P.S. Mruku, the late. He got an accident. I think he passed away. We presented to the PA, and they picked the idea of the youth fund. When they picked the youth fund, they did not implement it as we wanted as the organization. According to me, the youth fund, how it was supposed to be implemented was, first of all, the youth should be given it should be taught how to come up with business proposals. They present them to the banks which were supposed to be, or the ministry they appointed, the youth proposal. If that business is viable, they will be given the funds. Then they will be educated how to establish the businesses. At establishing the businesses, when the business breaks even, because they will help them market the product they're producing, they will help them do everything. At least the government and the youth ministry will be able to nurture them so that the business will start rolling up. And the moment they break even with whatever business they had started, that is the time they were supposed to start paying the loan. But apparently the government did not. That is not how it went along. Then they came what we call it, a conference in Kenya. The first in Kenya, it was called Youth Employment Summit. Apparently, my NGO was sponsored by my employer. My employer sponsored me, my NGO. We went to the Youth Employment Summit. There were youth from all over the world and all over Kenya. So when we met the youth from Kenya, we formed through a leadership of a gentleman called Duncan Mogoko. We formed Youth for Leadership, a group. So all these youth from all over the country came together and started meeting us at every month. They started holding meetings at the Insurance Plaza. We were not funded by anybody. It was the fashion we wanted, because we said we wanted to fight for youth to the leadership, because if youth reach the leadership level in the member of parliament that time, they will fight for our youth, they will fight about the jobs, finding jobs. And that is when we formed that structure. We started doing riots, we started doing conferences, aspiring youth for what? Aspiring MPs, holding meetings, we did aspiring councillors. And apparently when the youth, some of the youth we were campaigning for, went into parliament. And we hoped, when this youth reached the parliament, they will advocate for our issues, they will advocate what we want. But somehow, that does not happen. When they reach there, I don't know if they get it, so they forget what happens, and then you can't even reach them anymore. And I'm sure the people that I can mention who are in the group, I'm sorry, probably I'm not allowed to. There was, if they deny, God knows that Safodu can even remember me. There's Anthony Kibageti now, an MP, Sabat. Yes, there's a Philip Kosgeding is in somewhere, Quench. There's even apparently one of the, well, we talk much about is a CS ago now, they've been sacked. At that time, he was very helpful, he gave a mentoring, he was there, he used to help us. So there are people who are, at least I can say, they were there, there are youth who are really fighting for Ababu, Amana. I can remember Kenhan, Luku. There was a team. We did riots. People did a lot of rioting so that youth can get to their parliament apparently. But when they went, it all became same swap. And for me, I'm sorry when it came out, I'm doing these things. My lawyer told me, now you either choose to work or in the, and we apparently tried. We did not have the same courage as Gen Z have. They did not have that, and I uphold them. I feel when I see them out there, I'm like, hey, I wish we went that, but them they have a person's times have changed. Times have changed, so there's probably, it has more impact. But now, all said and done, what I want to say is that, yes, for real, truth, is that our leaders have failed us. They failed us miserably because Kenya is a good, beautiful country. Kenyan people are good. Kenyan people are hardworking. We are hardworking. So even for a leader, if you're leading well with the Kenyan people, you don't have any problem. Because why? We are less bad-based. We are people who deliver. So we really feel short-changed by our leaders. And the leaders whom we elected, they forgot that we have employed them. We have employed them. So for me, it's selfish. I will say even when I was on my accident, and when I got my accident, I'd written to my employer. We highlight the manifestos, the people who are coming in with a new constitution. What do they want? The governors, they highlight tell us so that when we are electing us Kenyans will know if I elect that governor, this is his manifesto. But apparently we did not manage to reach that. When we got the accident, the group that got the accident on that vision, it failed. It failed, and that is why I'm here again. But still the passion that I'm telling you later, she never dies. You still bouncing me. Even when I'm this, I'm still thinking, what can I give to the Kenyans? What can I share? Can I share the Kenyans? Perhaps it will help even the person will lead our president, our leaders. It can help them, even if it might not make sense. Perhaps we'll pick 2-3 things from what I'm going to highlight today. Probably it can help Kenyans. So my first take, it is that we made a mistake in our constitution. Our constitution, it is good that we held it when we changed our name. But the challenge that we made in our constitution and the mistake that I feel me as Frida Kailoi Kirema is one, which is major and which is failing Kenyans miserably, is that we chose the evolution of leaders instead of the evolution of services. So that if, as let's take an example, we had an MP representing a person, but at the moment we have what? We have a governor, we have senator, let's say senator, we have a governor, we have a, what do you call it, women representative, women rep, we have member of parliament, we have the MCA. You see, we are a small country with very few resources. You know, people who are employed and taxed to give the government, they are not many. They are not many. So instead, what we did wrong is that we did devolution, which was supposed to be good, but we did devolution the wrong way. For me, my devolution should have been devolution of the services to the local managed to the grassroots devolution. And that is why today, I think the first thing that Kenya should, right, I know we are doing demonstrations, we are doing all that. It is even going now as I'm talking. But trust me, we did our demonstration in 2007, 2006, before the 2007, we did demonstration for youth. We will do demonstration even for 20 years. But if we don't change our structures, we don't change the way we do our thing, even if we elect another members who are young, who are old, we'll still go back to the same problem. So let us put structures in place. By profession, I'm an administrator. So I'm actually knowing what I'm talking about. Putting structures in place so that you deliver. My first thing is this. Let's start with our leadership structure, which is failing us miserably, which is eating at the resources of our country, which should be put in the right places. My first take is this. My first structure that I've written is that we are not going to change much, but we have to meet many. My first ask I noted Frida is we should have the president, we should have deputy president. That is take. And their responsibilities, their merits, we should not just elect any president. They should be merits. Public service of Kenya should be mandated that should have job descriptions from the president to the small person who is leading to the they should have job descriptions and and then they should have payments which are reasonable. The salaries should be reasonable from the president to the last one. They should all have that, because that is where I feel their allowances should not be exorbitant. They should be earned. Allowances we should, whether housing, what should be earned. So first structure. Mine is the shareholder. Shareholder who is the employer of them all is the Kenyans. Kenyans should know that we are the employee, or from the president to the last leader. We are the employee. We should know that, and we should know that, and we should know that. First of all, let's grab the name Mheshimiwa, Honorable, Excellence. Those names should be scrubbed off. It should be the president of Kenya, the governor, the member of parliament. But the name Mheshimiwa should not. We should not do that, because some of it, somehow it gives them wrong ideas. It gives them that we are not the ones who have employed and given them jobs. It's like they are the ones who have employed us and they should rule us the way they want. No. So for a start, that is where it starts before I put on the structure that I think Frida probably work. And my structure is adapted from company leadership. It is also adapted looking at the countries which have made it. South Korea, Singapore, such countries which were there, even I think less than there now, they are there. They have adapted a structure which is more on private, whereby we look at a country, yes, and a country should be run like a profit entity. You know, an entity, a company which their brands, their employees, everybody should be well. If the medical cover, they should have board. And so that we excel. Every company works so hard so that it makes it in the world, it makes it in the market. So it is the same thing that our company should have. So let's talk about the shareholders. Shareholders are Kenyans, first of all. Then we are the ones who now elect the president. They elect the president. We have said the president should have academic. We should now introduce the academic qualification, academic qualifications. We should include experience and all that before you put yourself there out there to be the president. So we should have the president, the deputy president, and the president and the deputy president. And the harm that I will not talk about because I don't have much knowledge, but should be there with the commander in chief, like the army forces. That wing should be there. Now, at the executive. Now the executive will be the deputy president, the deputy president, the prime minister. After the prime minister, who the prime minister will, the president and the deputy will be more equivalent of a director in a setup of a private company. Directors. Then we will have the prime minister. The prime minister will be like the group chief executive officer, who is working as chief administrator of the Republic of Kenya. Under it, he will be given his job description by Public Service Commission, and he can sit down. They can approach me with actually assist them. I write down, assist them, write down what it is. Then prime minister will have a team. The team of the prime minister will not say, they will call themselves they are the CSS. The CSS themselves also will not be selected by the president, will be not selected by the prime minister. These are people who their jobs will be advertised. They will also go by qualification, they will also go by experience. It is the Ministry of Roads, and why? It should be somebody who actually has knowledge, has dealt to that qualification and that experience. And the people who have actually shown track record of them, each and every ministry, the CSS should be qualified people. And the CSS are equivalent of head of departments in a private
company.
Then now, these are the CSS. The CSS also, we've said they will be qualified and all that. And then after the CSS, for me, the next team is the governor. Governor, I recall, Kenya used to have 8 provinces. And things which used to be delivered and used to be done.
Yeah.
So, for me, I believe, okay, we can now decide, okay, times have changed, let us try we can divide these provinces, the previous provinces, into 2, so that we will only ask to the government.
Yeah.
To state governance. These governors, they are one, and not all should be elected. Governors should not be elected, there are jobs which will be created by the Public Service Commission. They will have their convention to name my work of the governor. I start to be corrected. I'm just saying this is with the grammar structure. You can also input and tell me I'm free to open so that we come up with actually the leadership structure that Kenya. So for me, you are all open to. You can mention what you want. So what we come with a leadership structure which we can present to our president and say, Mr. President, this is a leadership structure that we wish we amend our constitution so that we can have this leadership structure which can suit the Kenyan people. So I've reached the place of governance. Governors will also be employed. Under governance, the office of governor. We want to remove the issue about government. We should not have an independent government, county government. Kenya is so small. We forget that Kenya is not like America. When we talk about governor leading, it is a country which is bigger than Kenya. Having a government of CSS, I mean of what do you call it, councillors, it is so small. It's not like Kenya. It is like now a governor in America is more of an equivalent of a president in Kenya. So we overstretched ourselves. So for us, we should abolish that issue of county government. What it should be is county offices led by the governor and buses. And and the work of the governor is supposed to see the work of the CSS, the work of the prime minister's agendas and everything are met by the constituencies under his management. They see that if it is medicine, are people in the hospitals getting medicine in the constituencies, which are under my docket? Are the roads made under my docket? And all that. So their work is basically to supervise the constituencies under their management. They take back the report to the CICs. Now that is the harm of the the chief administrator of Kenya, which is led by the prime minister. Then now let's go to the legislature. Who are the MPs? The work of it. This is now whereby I say it will have the MPs are the ones who are going to change this Kenya. Because why? They are at the grassroots. They're the ones who are going to make sure that whatever happens in the national government, it is felt in the grassroots. That is why I came up with something called the strategic management of the constituency. Strategic management of the constituency is whereby we want to remove these MPs from spending their times in Nairobi when they are supposed to be meeting in the constituency. Under the constituency, for me, in my structure, I've said we're starting something called Co-Constituency Administrative Center, which will be led by the member of the parliament. The member of the parliament, his job is work there every day. Just as yourself, you wake up to go to work, then MPs will be waking up every day to go into the offices. They will only come to Nairobi to either discuss the quarterly or when there is an emergency call. And the only thing that they will be paid when they come to Nairobi, it is accommodation. The government will provide accommodation and no seating allowances because they are doing their work.
Yeah.
And us transport allowance. Then after they finish, they go back to their area. Now, when at the administration centers, the constitution administration centers, now this is safe. There will be gate offices, whatever is in the national level, will be having an office at the constituency center. When we say about gender, youth, they will have there. And according to youth, for me, it is the mandate of each constituency to create a database for its youth. Whether you have to do your education at class 8, go register yourself. What is your skill? Right there. What is your level 1 to know how many youth have graduated in Kenya who are medicine students? They just click and they'll get the entire data. If they want to know who are engineers, they will do and create data. Talent in carpentry. If you are a talent, we are not saying only in education, you will go there down, you will get the data. So you will have data for each and every group, so that when it comes to placement of employment, and actually even sometimes that jobs will not need for youth to apply, and we'll just know there are saturated somewhere. We need this amount of doctors. What do? We just go to the database and we get the details of them. Who are doctors? Where are they? And everywhere we just select them and employ them without having for them to any suffer. These are the youth. Then we will have the youth for disability. Are the disabled people? Are they taken care of in the constituency? Are they getting funds for their upkeep? Such things. And so for me, at the constituency division, and Ministry of Roads, we will be like other countries. Even the smallest pavements in the constituency, they are tarmacked. The street lights will be there in our constituency. And this one will create a job even for the youth. in the constituencies. And it is so for me, I think that in most a place whereby F% should be freed, it should be really given at the constituency level, so that we make egotism, youth education, we have funds for education, so that there is no child who will receive school. Special for elderly, we make sure, yes, they get money. Are they taken care of? And like Kibaki paying again. So for me, that will enable, our structure will be lean, but it will be efficient.
Yeah.
Because that is also happening in will be efficient. There will be accountability. And then you'll be able to know accountability. For now, there will be no accountability. For now, they don't know that if you started, you just hear CDF has been given. But when you go to the grassroots, there is nothing which has ever done with that CDF. When you go to country Turkana, there are kids who are even schooling in the trees still at this time and age in Kenya. But there is a member of parliament who are meeting till CDF, those funds and everything, the accountability. And then the other wing that I want to introduce now after the executive, at a legislature, the legislature, there's don't worry, my accent, my heritage. And then there's what do you call it? There's what we call judiciary. Those are the that are most active. Can we introduce another? Sorry, because of the BTM. Then there's the other mandatory unit that yes, the arm that should, and you should have it independently. Yes, they are there. And it is done, but it is not very much highlighted and given the mandate, and it is there. I would love to call it implementation, evaluation, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. So that, and in this one, we don't have local only. We have like 2 international auditors companies that are not like, just for example, Pricewater, Ernst & Young, and another one, so that they will be able to monitor each and every what do you call it? Every government operation that is done. So that at the end of it all, you can know if a certain member of parliament or a certain member governor or a CS has been able to, even the president himself has been able to actually run his manifesto well, as they achieved something like that, as they achieved. And if you have achieved, and we appraise you, and you have actually adding the appraisal, then probably you can have within another time. That is, we feel that the appraisal is coming to zero, you are not performing. Then Kenyans can actually decide, and we do the new place with or you don't easy to decide. You do everything. That is my take on the leadership structure. And Mr. President, Arap Samoei Ruto. You've heard my name is Frida Kanyuri Krema. By profession, I'm an administrator. I feel it is my time to give back to my country as motherland, which is my motherland. A lot has been said, being true. Your leadership structure, not leadership, your leadership, most of it has gone bad. But all is not lost. There are a lot of things that me as Frida Kaimuri Kirema can assist you with, especially drawing structures that will help Kenya, and will help Kenya. I know, even if your name has been tarnished a lot, but trust me, you have started making changes, and if continue making changes the way you are making, being open to dialogue with a lot of people who are for Kenyans' progress, true Kenyan progress, you will go and put the right systems that can help people. You will go down in history for having laid systems that will help future generation, Gen Z, Alpha, and the rest. So we still have faith that you can turn this country around for the better.
Sexuality is an intrinsic part of many people's personhood and sense of self. As teenagers, we begin to date, experimenting with relationships and roles in the romantic world. Society shapes the way in which our sexuality is expressed. We learn, in sometimes jarring ways, whether we are sexy or not in the eyes of others, whether we are deemed fit to participate in sexual relationships. For persons with physical disabilities, participation in sexual life is complicated. This complication stems more from the attitudes of the world out there than the physical limitations of the individual.
I still sort of derive that sexuality, especially the identity part of it, from almost my environment, my society. You're almost socialized into the way that you're going to become or the way you see yourself. So as much as I knew that obviously I'm a sexual person, however, there are a few, what can I call them, curveballs that just make it slightly challenging to think of how sexual you are and how do you fit with your sexuality, especially into the society that you that you come from. So yeah, but obviously I'm very much aware of the sexuality part of my identity.
When disability is acquired, people with physical disabilities must learn to revise, redefine and revive their sense of themselves as a sexual person.
After I've acquired my disability, I had to basically relearn to accept myself as a woman, as a sexual being. But I think that in time, and the way I feel now, is that I fully embrace myself in all aspects that I am, not only physically, because I think that I'm an attractive person. I think I embrace my womanhood, but I think it's very difficult to be able to express yourself in a completely feminine way when when the media portrays the perfect role of a woman to be tall, big-busted, upright. So when you're always kind of aspiring to be that person that is accepted by everybody, and what is more accepted is an able body. So it is difficult to sometimes, be truly feminine when society dictates how femininity should be portrayed. But in all, I think that I'm not too lacking in my femininity.
This process is often complicated by prejudicial attitudes from the general public, who believe persons with physical disabilities to be asexual or unable to participate in sexual relationships.
I think a lot better now than when I was tuned out to my accent. I think that's the main thing to reflect on. I mean, I'm an old man now. So the old as in 48, yesterday. So I think it's nice to be able to be comfortable, and having become comfortable with that again, since being a teenager who became an active teenager student life, living a student life, and became paralyzed and my world turned upside down. I just turned 19, and at the same time was discovering being out of school and being on my own and being independent and being a sexual being, I suppose, in the world. I realized I had two disabilities. I had my paralysis, and I had how people treated me, what they thought of me from what I was before. And I think that was hard to come to terms with. The big thing that hit me after my accident, I think, was feeling like a burden to people, especially in the home situation. my mom had to look after me because my father died in the accident. So it was a tough thing to do. And suddenly I was like 10 years old again. But that links to sexuality because I didn't feel I had anything to offer. I didn't want to be a burden in a relationship. So it took me a long time to get over that. I cut myself off completely from being any kind of sexual being. And that lasted about 4 or 5 years. And that was my kind of process at the time. And it was linked to my feelings of not really wanting to be around for a long time. So to get over that, I got in a few relationships, and that kind of has slowly been part of how I matured and got to where I am today.
Part of the process of becoming comfortable with sexuality for all of us is dating. In the case of people growing up with a disability, they are often shielded off from mainstream society by going to schools for children with disabilities. This exclusion can make it difficult to adjust to a dating world outside.
Having had to go to boarding school from a very, very young age, which is a special school as well, we are amongst each other, if you will. So we didn't have a lot of time to go out into the world, be able to integrate to general society, if you will. So as much as we had sexual feelings, if you will, because obviously there were females within the school. However, the biggest challenge for us was, how is the bigger general world going to receive us? As much as we might have had a girlfriend within school, but you both have a disability, right? But outside, this is just someone who might be attracted, to you perhaps as just a human being. However, in your mind, you still got that whole issue of disability. So you sometimes end up not being sure of, is this relationship genuine? Is it out of pity? Is it out of some sort of duty? So those are the turns or the challenges one has to almost deal with psychologically, and maybe perhaps when I settle down, in an official sort of way, I can almost say, okay, no, maybe I dealt with it in a practical, good way.
Becoming disabled in the course of a relationship can create complications and problems between partners.
After being married for a year, I was involved in an accident, my ex-husband and I. In terms of my self-esteem, it wasn't good. In terms of my sexuality, it wasn't good. In terms of my accepting myself as a woman, it wasn't good. It was disempowering. And the relationship didn't last because of me being disabled.
When people with physical disabilities are married or in relationships, they are often confronted by non-disabled people who are shocked or surprised that they are married.
People don't expect me to have kids or be married, and they get shocked sometimes when they see a wedding ring. So, are you married? And it's surprising quarters. I mean, sometimes I'm in company who I would think would be okay with it, and some people are really. I think after being in a chair for 29 years, I kind of cut off to stuff now. In the early days, I told a lot of people where to go in funny situations and would make jokes.
Sometimes the negative attitudes do not lie in the world outside, and people with physical disabilities may find that they are scared or unsure when it comes to dating in a society which they fear might be rejecting.
In the beginning of my relationships, I wasn't very confident. I wasn't, I didn't have a good self-image. My body. I have scoliosis, I have, my body's a bit deformed and so on. So that would be my first, thoughts, will he, how will my body be, not attractive, attractive to him, and although, will it spoil what I think we have and so on. So that's a kind of fear.
However, despite challenges, many people with physical disabilities lead successful dating lives and pursue long-term romantic commitments like marriage.
As a partner, I think I was able to give quite a lot to a relationship, immaterial of the fact that I am a person, that is differently abled.
A complication in relationships between people with physical disabilities and their partners, though, is care.
I didn't feel I had anything to offer. I didn't want to be a burden in a relationship. So it took me a long time to get over that. I cut myself off completely from being any kind of sexual being. And that lasted about 4 or 5 years.
However, care and dependency are not insurmountable obstacles to meaningful, equal, and exciting romantic relationships.
When I became paralyzed, I remember being the one relationship I had, when I began, I thought, well, I don't care anymore. If this happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm not going to get hung up about silly things about what I look like or, am I long enough, short enough, tall enough? Is my breath that bad? I don't know. I just, what else can go wrong? So it was, in a way, kind of a release to say, well, hey, what else can go wrong? So in that kind of way, I took maybe a bit more, perhaps blasé about it, gave me more confidence, perhaps. Or maybe just because I didn't worry too much about things. And then, again, you realize what's important. And if someone wants to be with you, they're going to be with you. If they're not, they're not. And that's pretty much what happened.
So, people with physical disabilities can and do have fulfilling sex lives, date and get married. They also have children. Certain physical disabilities do have an impact on one's capacity to have children. However, there are medical technologies which can help willing couples to conceive.
We tried a couple of times naturally, and my sperm count was low. And we worked out it's a numbers game. We approached the Cape Fertility Clinic, got in touch with them, tried artificial insemination, I think 3 or 4 times, which is a cheap option. And then after that, when that didn't work, we went for IVF, and that worked first time. But it's a numbers game. It increases your percentage from, naturally can be like, I think, 2% or 0.5%. AI is about 5%, whereas IVF is like 35%. So in the second one, we went straight for IVF and just didn't waste time. I think we might have tried naturally once, I can't remember. But that was, and it worked, so that was good. A couple of things you can do. I had sperm frozen a long time ago when Em and I got together, when we got married. And so that's there. But when we tried again, I'd produce a fresh sample, so to speak. And that was like the fun part. So you try to make fun of it and try to keep something happen. So I was doing that in the morning. Em had to go, carry a little jar back up to the clinic, 5 minutes down the road. I think kept in a bra, something to keep it warm, that type of thing. So those little stories kind of make it intimate. And then again, when we had Benjamin, I did the same thing. I said, well, let me try a fresh sample again, and it was fine. So it's nice to know that when it happened. I guess that's kind of day of conception. That's pretty cool.
However, once again, problematic societal attitudes crop up.
I have mixed reactions, I think, maybe because they think that, I'm a person in a disability, I'm sitting in a wheelchair, I'm disabled, how could I possibly have 2 children? And it's easy, I'm a woman. I have a reproductive system, I had sex, I popped out 2 children.
Even the partners of people with physical disabilities are not immune to the assumptions and attitudes of others.
So for me, I've just got used to it all. When we got in public and Emma was pregnant, she got a lot of funny looks from people, she said, with a guy in a wheelchair. And we were in Pick n Pay once. I think that's the thing about inappropriate reactions. And Emma and I were in Pick n Pay, and a couple of ladies saw, oh, wow, look at you. How do you guys have sex? She said, ask Emma. I was in the bread counter. You think, that's totally inappropriate. Unless it's in the correct setting, and that's... So, but we're faced with a choice because you want to change attitudes, but not in the middle of a shopping mall.
When it comes to disability, we may assume so much about sexuality and what can or cannot be done. People with physical disabilities often feel that other people look at their disability first, not at the person they are.
I think my sexuality I got comfortable with a long time ago. Fatherhood, I guess, is just an extension of that. It's more, and when I lecture, when I talk about it, I show a picture of me and myself on the beach with James chasing me and playing with him. And I say, my identity in society is a father and a husband. And I think that's crucial. Because my key thing is, when I speak to you in my presentations, I stopped for a point. I said, what is inclusion all about? And I turned to the audience, normally it's students, and I said, well, we are social beings. When you go out and you meet people, what are the first questions you ask? So a bit of to and fro, and people say, what are your name? What are you studying? I said, what do you do? People say, what do you do? Next thing, are you in a relationship? And it always comes out. In a few minutes, people come up with these questions. Are you in a relationship? There's a bit of a giggle around there. And I say, exactly. So those things define you in society. What can you do? What do you do? Are you in a relationship? Are you married? Are you single? And I said to the audience, I say, what do you think people ask me when they see me? What happened? Everybody gets it. What happened? I said, that's it. And that's what sucks, because it goes no further than that. People don't expect me to be able to do anything or be in a relationship because I'm in a wheelchair. And that's the difficult part. That's what we want to change around.